Yes, Pearl is online with us, and she would be the person taking minutes for the meeting.
Okay. So,
Would I be able, I'm sorry, excuse me, but can I take roll call before
Pearl,
the
that's
meeting
what
starts?
she's. So Pearl, that's what she's saying. So, but Pearl, can you hear her?
No, not at all.
And okay, so
can I
we can try that. But I'm just thinking that if because you've called my cell phone versus the meeting phone number. If you call into the meeting, then Pearl will hear you versus talking through my cell phone through the computer.
okay.
Okay, sounds good. If you have a problem, call me back. Okay, Pearl, so just hang tight.
Sure.
Jerry, did you find the questions that they are looking
Yeah,
for?
I believe that the bottom, who can sign off on grants and can you have
Yeah.
a list of addresses? Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking too. And so just looking at that, do you feel like you have answers to some of those questions?
Could probably answer a couple of them, but I mean, I think it just, yeah, it depends. Because to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about just about the sort of society itself, or if there's a separate. Obviously we have a commission of management, but is there a separate? Because generally commissions and things like that can't apply for the grants. It'd have to be done to the regional district. So the regional district would have to other people can actually do the grants for us, but it would have to go through the regional district for the grants themselves, unless there's a separate society that's a nonprofit that's associated to the old schoolhouse. And I don't know if everyone can hear me, but an example is at Sunshine Bay. We have a commission. When we applied for grants for Sunshine Bay Regional Park, we had to do the grants. However, there was also a Friends of Sunshine Bay Society that was able to apply for grants. So generally, stuff like that would have to be the regional district.
Okay, so we have some information we can provide there. The list of address being considered part of the tax base, I'm sure we can pull that.
Yeah, that's something that would be done through us.
Yeah, and then
And how-
incorporating
yeah.
local businesses and not 100%. Oh, on a volunteer basis, I'm sure you have an answer for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's just trying to find those that are kind of willing to participate. Often when we've had different groups or businesses, we might have a plaque or a kiosk or something like that afterwards that basically acknowledges those that volunteered and those that provided, funds for the project.
Okay. Parking and capacity, and then
I mean, that
communities interested.
Yeah, definitely the parking is an issue there. Um, it is tough, and it's certainly a tough uh, driveway to get up and down in terms
Right.
of that area. It's quite tight, but yeah. So I mean, that would be part of a plan, right? You'd have to kind of come up with everything else, and the slab, and where is that going to be? Because parking would have to somewhat be incorporated. Because I don't think that there's enough parking on the street in that area.
Right.
Hello?
Hello,
Hello? It took a bit, but we're on.
we hear you. I think we're all
Okay,
together.
very good.
Awesome. So
Okay.
can everyone in the room hear us?
I think we might have to get a little closer.
Well, we apologize for the confusion tonight.
Okay, so Pearl's gonna do
Yeah, Pearl's
the
here,
roll
and so
call.
Pearl's here, and yeah, you can go ahead and do roll call.
Director Popoff,
I'm present.
Commissioner Wood,
What is it?
Commissioner Nimikin,
He's not here.
Yes. Niminik is here.
Oh, he there. Oh, he is the mystery voice. Hi, Gary.
Hi.
and Commissioner
Didn't
Loxell,
want to interrupt.
I'm here.
Commissioner Irby,
Present.
Commissioner Thorpe. Or Thrope,
Troop.
Thrope, yeah,
Thrope.
Thrope,
That's a trope.
Commissioner Mentz,
Here.
and Commissioner Schutzoff.
Yes.
Oh, so everybody's present. Thank you.
Okay, so Chair Loxton calls it to order at 7:20. And I'll make the traditional lands acknowledgement statement that we acknowledge and respect the Indigenous peoples within whose traditional lands we are meeting today. And then I call for an adoption of the agenda as circulated. Moved by Peter Wood, seconded by George Mentz.
Anybody opposed?
Anybody opposed? Okay, now the receipt of the minutes. The February 22nd Slocan Commission of Management minutes have been received. And I actually had a question about that. Just, I know we follow regional district protocol and all these process. And so I'm curious about how they say digitally approved before I've seen them. Is that the way the regional district does it?
Pearl, we can't
Oh,
see.
hello?
Yeah, Pearl, if you can respond to that question.
Sure. through the chair, they were approved. It says, sent by loxam@shaw.ca. There's an email that said
No, they
February
weren't.
28th.
They
There's
were
a-
never
if you-
approved by me.
They weren't approved?
They were, they, Stacy, one of the commissioners, received them, I don't know on what date, and she thought I had approved them because it said they were digitally approved. And I received them about a week or 10 days later after asking a couple of times. So I'm
Oh.
just curious what the process is.
They have to be approved, but they usually by email.
Okay, so they should be sent to the chair for approval before they're sent out otherwise.
Yeah.
Is that my correct? Okay, that didn't happen. So I was just curious what the process is.
That is the process. Yes,
Okay, so that normally would happen. Thank you.
that'll happen. Yes. Thank you.
Um, okay, you have a question about the. Oh, okay, there was a Commissioner Wood on the minutes. The heading actually says South Slocan Commission of Management Open Meeting Agenda rather than Open Meeting Minutes for the February 22nd minutes.
I can see it.
Anyway, just for clarification that the heading should be correct.
Yeah, through the chair, Pearl can make sure that that's corrected and noted in this meeting's minutes, just for clarity.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
So the next item is the report. Oh, receipt of, well, it just said receipt of the minutes.
So when we approved the agenda, we approved the minutes as received with the correction that you just made.
Okay.
Right, and then I asked the question, but so they are therefore approved.
With the correction. That you reflected.
Did you, with the correction of the title, did you have another notice? Okay. So we'll go on to number 5, which is the South Slocan Old Schoolhouse Community Project Report. And I will turn it over to Commissioner Stacy.
Okay, I'm sure everybody read the report, hopefully, including the RCA. Yes.
Right. Did you, yeah,
And, so we structured it in a way that we, tried to get some public input, which we did stage 1. Stage 2, we, condensed, just to preface the report, we condensed, most of the opinions that were given to us. And, we, asked for grant writers or somebody with the grant writing experience who could work with the regional district from our community. And we had a couple people approach, so there we had some ideas for grants on there as well. But in the end, we have a couple questions before we can proceed, which were at the end of the report, which is the main reason we would like this meeting, so that we can progress after we have a few questions answered. Got it? End of story.
now we're waiting to have the questions. This is Chair.
So we're hoping you have the questions in front of you, but I'm happy to read them off.
Yeah, through the chair, this is Carrie Gain here. And the questions are who can sign off on grants and can we have a list of addresses, et cetera, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. So generally with grants, if it's for an RDCK project, the grants will have to be done, sort of through the regional district. It doesn't mean that we can't have grant writers. It could be a coordinated effort. We've done that multiple times, with different groups where, someone would help write the grant, but it would basically be done signing off through the regional district. And that's in the sense that if it's through, again, I was mentioning to Tricia a little earlier, because the commission itself, they can help do the grants, but again, because it's a regional district entity, it would have to be signed off by the regional district. If you have a society, and like, I'm not sure how the old schoolhouse, if you guys, had a different society that's a nonprofit or something else, then they can apply for grants in coordination with the regional district and sign off on that. But in general, if it's for something like this, it would have to be done through the regional district.
Right, but through the chair, Joe specifically asked for people in our community with grant writing experience.
Correct.
So we're not sure how we can, yeah, so who do we, when we have our people, our grant writers, who do we get in contact, who do they get in contact with so that they can form their group? Because it's not gonna be all of us, it's obviously gonna be one person from our group and one or two people from RDCK. So we would like to get them connected.
Yeah, so I think in this case, probably Joe would be the final contact for signing off on that. It might be something that we can, assign some other staff to that, depending on, what it is exactly they're doing. But I think what you're saying is, yeah, correct. I mean, you'd get your group together, you'd have your grant writer, you would look for the grants that you want to get, and
Okay.
and it would have to be done. Just again, it would just have to be kind of signed off as a regional district grant.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So through the chair, Carrie, while you're on there, they're not a society, they're a commission of the regional district,
Right.
and there is the bylaw there. So they cannot write grants, it has to be done by the regional district, from what I understand. But they can get possibly somebody within the community that can help one of the staff people at the regional district to write that grant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, that's what I was trying to say, is that it has to go through the regional district, but you can have a grant writer to do it. I was giving an example. So at Sunshine Bay Regional Park, we have the Sunshine Bay Commission, similar to yourselves. And so when we had to do a grant we did a grant for some work in the park. So we had, help with the commission doing the grants, but it was signed off by us. But they also have a society that is called Friends of Sunshine Bay, which was a nonprofit that they started who could write grants. So that's why I didn't know if you guys had something like that on the side. Walter, I was just curious to that. But if not, yes, it has to be done and signed off by the regional district. But it can be, even when we do grants, we've often hired someone to do the grants. It's just signed off by us in the end, and obviously reviewed to make sure that it's all done properly.
So through
Okay.
the chair, maybe I'll just add one piece to Carrie's comment. And just for clarity, grant writing in this case might be like the content expert. So the people who are providing information related to the questions in the grant, and then the final signing authority would go through the regional district. And what Carrie's suggesting is that the point of contact would be Joe. Just if that helps clarify some maybe lingo in the grant world.
It does, yeah. So we can move on to question 2 then, because this is also related to the grant writing. The list of addresses that would be considered part of the tax base, because at the last meeting, through the chair, at the last meeting, it was discussed that the working group had to be part of the tax base for the South Slocan Commission of Management. But we are unclear what the tax base is. We don't want to pull somebody in incorrectly to help us write grants. So do you know what I'm saying? That's why we need the list of addresses, because there's one girl that is very helpful, but we're not sure if she falls in the boundary. So we want to make sure before we even get started that she does.
So through the chair, what might be easiest in that case is if you can provide the residential address, we can double check through one of the regional district departments to confirm which area that person falls in, if I'm understanding the question correctly.
Okay, I'll
So
send
that-
an email to Joe tomorrow about that.
Yeah, that would be great. And if what also might be helpful, Joe may or may not be able to be at work tomorrow. And so I just think it
Okay.
might be helpful if you, on the email distribution for this meeting, you would have my name as well as Carrie's. So I'm Trisha Davison, just if people didn't catch that. And of course it's Carrie Gaynor, but feel free to copy at least myself on that email, and I can just help keep an eye on that and move it along in the event Joe is unable to be
Okay.
there too.
So we could, I'll open up an email chain, because I'm thinking that this question might come up more than once, so we'll just kind of, I'll just kind of keep an email chain with everybody involved so that as we need addresses verified, you can perhaps do that for us.
Absolutely. And if you,
Because it
through the
was
chair,
quite
if you
clear
can-
that they weren't allowed to be helping with the group if they weren't part of the tax base. That's if I remember that correctly.
Yeah, if I can answer that, they have to be a resident of the defined area. And the regional district has a defined area of service for the Slocan Commission of Management. And if you send, Joe, Tricia, and Carrie Gaynor,
Mhm.
the address that you're inquiring about, and they will tell you it's a part of the defined
Right away.
service area.
Okay.
This is now, through the chair, I'm curious about the,
It's Peter Wood now.
sorry, through the chair, the defined area, is the defined area of water services,
Not the water services,
recreational
that's
services,
the Slocan Commission of Management Service,
which,
which has a defined area of service. The water service could be a different defined area. And this is Walter, by the way.
It is a different area, but it possibly could be, but I don't believe it is. They're identical.
Not, well, there are some residents where they don't have water, but they are part of the defined area.
Exactly.
So for
Oh.
Claire, so through the chair,
I see
for
that.
Claire, and my apologies if I'm cutting someone off, I can't see you, so I'll just do a blanket apology for that. Through the chair, in your email, when you send the address, just confirm those details because we may have to pass this information on to another department within the regional district. So it would be helpful if you say, we're trying to confirm that this address falls within this defined area of this commission service, so that it literally is that spelled out. And that gives really clear direction for us to take it forward on your behalf.
as I understood it, the area that is involved in the recreation halls to be at South Slocan is the south end of the Slocan Valley, including South Slocan. Am I correct?
Yeah, what you're, if I may,
Yeah.
through the chair, what you're talking about, Peter, is what we're trying to decide whether that's what we want or not. Right now, South Slocan Commission of Management, this is the meeting of the Commission of Management, the defined area, and a good example is if you remember where the old Svetlico place was, they're not part of the water system, but they go up on the road, but they're part of the defined area.
Where is that?
Svetlico. No, up in South Slocan, up near Bonington.
Mhm. Yeah,
I think you know what then.
so just have the,
So send the address of the residents
Okay.
that you're inquiring if they're part of the South Slocan Commission to a defined area, and you'll get a response from regional district.
but there's nothing on the public map that would have the defined area. So that we could roughly,
There is a map, but it's so old that it's hard to tell.
okay, perfect.
Okay, okay, so the working committee is going to forward the names of prospective
address.
people, the addresses of
Yeah.
prospective people.
Before we approve them for the group.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
I-
sounds good.
I just want to start there instead of do something wrong and figure out.
Yeah.
3 months.
Sounds fine. Question 3.
How do we incorporate local businesses who wish to participate on a volunteer basis? So, we've had businesses approach, and we have ideas about approaching businesses, but we know that a lot of the work, a lot of the funding is going to go through regional district. So we want to know how to pursue that avenue and not cross any boundaries as well. So for instance, we would like to approach Kolesnikov to get wood for the structure, and we're having on fairly good authority that they would donate, but we don't know how to approach them officially. And if we even do that, maybe that's a regional district thing. So that's why that question's in there.
So through the chair, I'm not sure if I can answer this fully, and again, Joe might be the best person in the end, but there are lots of times where we've had local businesses contribute to things that we're doing or, participating in projects. So in terms of doing it, it wouldn't be the regional district necessarily going and doing it. It would be collaboratively through the commission to do that. The funds, if there were funds, that would have to come through the regional district. If it was on a volunteer basis to help, then I believe, depending on sort of what help you were looking for, we do have ways of providing volunteer agreements so that people are covered when they're working if they were ever to hurt themselves, et cetera, et cetera. But um, and Walter, maybe you can answer as well. But I think in the past we've been able to, certainly to take donations or provide or have volunteers, help with our projects.
So that's definitely an avenue we can pursue within our community then.
I would
Your
believe so.
donation,
To solicit donations and,
if you get donations, you can collect the donations, but you have to turn them into the regional district.
oh yeah, that's okay. I'm just wondering if we're even allowed to approach.
We did the Crescent Valley Park that way.
Yeah, and we do have a way of a donation program. So depending on the situation and amount, if people are donating, any type of significant amount, we can provide a tax receipt for that.
Okay. Oh, okay. Receipts available. Excellent. Question 4, is that well enough answered for everyone? Question 4 is, when we were up there with the community, as a community event, we all were quite stunned by the fact that there's not a lot of parking and not a lot of capacity up there for any sort of crowd. And the road down below doesn't have any parking. And we're wondering if you would set limits on capacity early so that we can plan, dream, develop based on that. Because I think that if we go big, then it's not going to fit.
Well, through the chair, I will acknowledge that the driveway up and the turnaround to get up there is tight, and there would be no parking on the road. Absolutely, I agree with that. And I would have to see the overall. Again, I would go up to the schoolhouse there, and we helped with some work and things like that. But I would have to look at the overall land and see, but that's anytime we've had things like that, we can incorporate a landscape design that that can incorporate X amount of parking spots, and that ends up being the limit on what you can build anyway, right? Is the you can build
Right.
something and you can have X amount of parking spots, but beyond that capacity of parking, there's sometimes that in itself limits the amount of people that can go there, right? What you can maybe find, and I don't know where that would be on that road, but if there's something further along or a different area that you could have overflow parking, I'm not sure where that would be, because it is a
Dam
pretty tight
in.
road along there.
The dam in, yeah. Yeah.
The dam in. Well, there you go. Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
But
so
yeah,
early in the design process, there will be a discussion about capacity and parking then. Is that what I'm picking up from you?
I would say in general, that's what we would do in any design phase. We would look at the parking, we would look at the capacity, and that's sometimes how you have to design your building. And Walter can contest to Crescent Valley Beach, because we had very limited amount of space actually to for parking to incorporate the rest of the park. So we ended up being able to squeeze a fair number of spots in a, you know, in a fairly narrow capacity area. So, and that was done through design.
I wonder, pardon me, I got in a bit late and I wondered if I could chime in. This is Rob Stacey. I helped with some of the earlier concepts on the site. And we did look at a bit of the parking stuff, and, you know, part of the idea was that it was continuous with the trailhead portion of it too. I know it's a bit of a walk, but, you know, the idea was it wasn't unusable and it could be helpful towards it. So that's about the best idea we had.
Okay. That's about all we could come up with too.
So that's down
Not all
by,
the ideas are good, but you know.
The trailhead.
Yeah, the mailbox.
by the mailboxes, go through the tunnel and then walk up.
Okay. So question 5, through the whole discovery process and everything we've been talking about, we were wondering how much of the landscaping / playground / whole property you were going to develop. I know we're talking about the building and funds for the building specifically, but we as a community are interested in if there's plans in place for the whole property. And can we fundraise for that?
The whole property being at the level of the schoolhouse itself. The playground.
The playground, exactly,
Front.
all of it.
We're not really talking about going up the hill.
No,
Not the street, but
No, no,
just everything, yeah.
that's part of the property.
So yeah, the bottom half of the property.
How far up does the property go? I
Follow the galleries and what's a storage tank.
thought that was Gary's property,
No, what a storage tank is on our property.
but that road is Gary's.
It's like part of that road is not well, part of it out.
Okay. Well, that's a defined space other than the building, I guess. But yeah,
The level of the schoolhouse. And the
yeah, the people that most people use, the part that most people use, yeah. So where did we get lost? That question lost?
So the question was whether the property extends beyond the footprint of the building to include the playground area. And the lower lawn, below the
below the
schoolhouse.
Through the chair, as far as I know, that is all part of the property, correct? So yeah, that from what I know, and Joe would be able to answer this better, but my understanding is that is part of the entire property, including the playground and, you know, the sort of little lawn area below. To answer the second part is fundraising. Absolutely, fundraising is a possibility. That's how we actually ended up getting Christopher Park, was all through fundraising.
Right. So when we start our fundraising extravaganza, would we already be fundraising for that, or are we strictly fundraising for the building right now? We're confused as to our mandate.
And I apologize, I would have to leave that to Joe because I'm not sure what the discussions have been with that. My apologies.
So Carrie, through the chair, if I make a comment, what you're looking for is a defined footprint of the property that you're going to develop for the South Dakota Commission of Management.
Yeah, not just the building.
So Carrie, that might be done in conjunction with actually the chair or Stacy, to go out there and see what the defined area footprint would be. And you'd start with that because we've got the water system on that property. I actually don't have the legal documents to show whether that property is, we were talking about subdividing it at one time, but we wanted to find, I would believe you'd want to define footprint.
Of it already.
Yeah.
On my, I'll email it.
Okay,
someone.
so you can work with staff, with
Yeah.
Terry,
Okay.
to have a defined footprint of your development
Okay.
on that property.
Yeah, through the chair, and that we can do that, and we can
Yeah.
actually bring in our parks planner as well. So Mark Crow is pretty proficient at being able to produce a good map and things like that once we have a defined area. So we can work on that and certainly have that available for everyone.
Number 6. So this one, question we were, who is in charge of bids and quotes and can we coordinate with them? So we're not asking for our community to get preferential treatment on the bids. What we would, if we're going to ask for all this money and get all this community support, what we would like through the chair and from RDCK is, the ability to at least send a list of the bids out to the contractors / people who can work in our community so that they're not in the dark, so that it's a completely transparent process and that they can know when to put their bid in. Because there's already several people that have approached us about how do we get that contract and we don't know.
Right.
So we'd
and
like
well,
to know the process.
Yeah, through the chair, we do have a procurement process, and it is a defined process, and a lot of it depends upon the size of the contract, the size of the bids, size of the quotes, things like that. If it's over a certain amount, then if it's over a certain amount, it actually under our policy has to go to BC bid, so it would have to be open to to anyone in the province or anyone in Canada, to be honest. That if it goes to BC bid, it would go to anyone who signed up on BC bid. So a lot of companies and things like that throughout the province are signed up on that on BC bid, and if it's over $75,000, then it would have to go out. It doesn't mean that someone outside of the area would get it. It just means that the bid in the procurement process would have to go out. If it's under that, then it can be put onto our website, and through that website, people would be available. But certainly, anyone would be able to bid on the quote. And depending on the specifications of what you're trying to do, a lot of times, if they're local, they can provide a better service because they're closer and don't have travel and hotels and everything else that sort of comes from, say, someone bidding out of Kelowna or anything else.
Through the
So
chair,
it's something. Oh,
sorry about that. So just through the chair, I just wanted to add one piece to Carrie's comment. So to your question of drawing awareness to the fact that the opportunity is there for local contractors to bid on it, absolutely. You can definitely let people know once it becomes public knowledge that everyone has an opportunity. You can certainly point those local contractors to that opportunity if that was part of your question.
that's exactly what I was wondering. I want them to have the opportunity as well as everybody else. But a lot of people don't know that there's the opportunity, right? So
yeah, correct. Once it's
We can-
available in public, you can definitely say, hey, guess what? Here's an opportunity if you want to bid on it. Absolutely.
we can promote it. Okay, excellent. Our hands aren't tied there.
But if I'm correct, if it's over $75,000, they would have to be registered under BC bid.
No, through the chair, they don't have to be registered. It's just put out on BC bid.
Oh,
So
okay.
so often if we have things and we know local contractors that might want to bid on it, we will often reach out to people and let them know that something is coming up, and that way we have local people bid on our projects as well. So it is common, and certainly we would hope that local people within the area would bid on our contracts. But it just means that if it's over $75,000, it goes out to a wide range of people. Where if it's a smaller amount, say it was $20,000, then it can basically put up on our website, and it can be something that we would try to contact contractors that are available and say, hey, look, this is coming up. It would be nice if you bid on it so that we have good competition.
Okay, sounds good.
Through the chair, I have a couple of questions, and I don't know.
Commissioner Men.
Yes, sorry. My understanding is there's a couple of 100,000 sitting there left over from the demolition. Am I wrong in assuming that?
No, there is.
And my understanding was that money is directed towards the building, not towards the rest of the property. Restoration, putting whatever is decided on that building footprint. So we're really talking about two things here, aren't we? We're talking about the building, and then we're talking about the rest of the land. Money that might be fundraised, I don't see that going towards the building necessarily unless it's over whatever that number is, 200 or 225,000. So would we not get a quote on whatever it is the design is going to be for the building? And then have an idea of how much money it's going to cost?
So if I can answer your
Yes, please.
George, it's a while back, we had Cover Architecture to come out there. It's a consultant that was hired to take a look at it as far as the building footprint goes. And his estimate was around $1 million, or I don't have the exact figure, but it was in that range. So,
And I could
and he
chime
gave
in.
a couple of
I'm the one
contracts
that,
on that.
yeah, if it's helpful, I could chime in because I was part of that process too. Only if I'm not interrupting, but yeah, certainly there were a few different options, and it included the cost of the demolition when we came up with those cost estimates, but the cost estimates came from contractors rather than public tendering. So most recently, the revised options had reduced the extent of it to reduce those costs. So we don't know exactly how much it would be, but it's less than that.
So who's talking there? I don't,
We don't know who you are.
So I chimed in earlier. This is Rob Stacy. I'm from Cover Architecture, and I live at
okay.
2244 Highway 3A.
Okay, right. Well, this is the chair, so I understand if what you're saying is that the $1 million included the cost of demolition, which has already happened, and it didn't go to tender. So it could conceivably be quite a bit less than the $1 million. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, there were a lot of unknowns at that time, and so it's great to hear that it costs a lot less than what was expected for the demolition. So.
Okay. So that still is the question of I think it is around $250,000 approximately. And some of that, there is a time limit on that as well, that it has to be used, a certain chunk of that has to be used by the end of 2025. Am I correct?
I can't answer that. You would need Joe to answer that.
Okay,
He knows how much money's left over. He's got the budget and everything
okay.
else. So just to hearing what George meant and the Cover Architecture is on here, I was not aware that it included the demolition of the building. So we probably have to go back to Cover Architecture, another consultant, and figure out what we want to do with the building if we're going to have a building there. So if Cover Architecture is on here, can you tell me if I'm correct on that?
Sure, and if you hear some roosters in the background, it's because of the roosters. But we still actually are under contract, but we stopped because we knew that there was a fair bit more to do to confirm the exact scope and extent and cost of the work. So we kind of paused, for 2 years or however long it's been. And the idea would be that we would refine it to bring it in within the budget. That's generally where we try to get to, but it takes a bit of time. So that's about where we're at. We're about halfway through and we haven't had the engineering done.
Okay.
So from what I understand, we'd have to go back to them and they'd have to take a look exactly what we're, planning or what was planned and develop another plan for us with an approximate cost. And that would be just the engineering part of it and the design part of it, not the building part. Or they did give a quote on the building or a rough estimate.
Okay.
And if I could just chime in a little bit too, sorry, but we may not have to provide any additional quotes, depending on what the changes are. It might be perfectly fine within the contract that we already have. So I know that there was some funds allocated towards that, and that was part of the basis, but kind of depends on what the final vision is.
Yeah, so through the chair, it's George Mentz again. Would it not make sense then, I'm trying to work my way through this. We've got some money in the bank, relatively undefined, but still in the $250,000 range, I assume. Would the next step then be to go back to the community and detail what we would like to see on that concrete, on the slab site, on the building footprint, former building footprint, and then take that back to RDCK to get a pricing on that. My concern is this could drag on for years unless we say, this is what we want. There's the money. What else has to be done to make this a reality relatively quickly?
You're looking for process.
I want process, yeah.
There may be people who would. That,
So, if I may answer that, if you'd have to go back, there was, you know, and I could be wrong. I think there were two options provided,
three.
or three. So the commission chose one of the options, the preferred option. So we'd have to go back now, take a look how much money was left over. And when you say 250,000 or whatever, I don't know the amount. It could be as little as 100,000 or whatever is left. And figure out what option you would want. And if you wanted option 3, to proceed with option 3, knowing and realizing that the building doesn't have to be demolished, there could be a different cost associated with that. So all of that's already been done. Option 1, 2, and 3 was provided, and the choice, from what I call, and Kathy says, option 3 was the choice of the residents at that time.
Well, it's not my choice. Through the chair, Walter, I'm not clear if that is the case. I think, you know, we may have favored option 3, but I'm not sure that that was the only option that we were wanting to consider. And
Okay.
I gathered that, I gathering on the.
Yeah, you'd have to go back and revisit it.
Yeah.
But there were 3 options provided.
What option 3 even was providing was something that we talked about after the gathering of the chip. Schoolhouse did.
Yeah, and through the chair, George Mintz again, I as a community member and new commissioner would be apprehensive about taking to another large gathering a proposal that the community doesn't possibly have buy-in on. I don't know what option 3 is. I am new and that's my ignorance, and I proclaim that clearly. But I think we have a process that has to be in place, and we started on that get-together time where there's tremendous community buy-in. So I think we as a group really need to go back to the community and say, option 3 is what has been proposed. Or
Anyway.
Mhm. Are we in agreement with that as a community? Before I was commissioner, I had no idea what option 3 was.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was just going, this is the chair, state that the buy-in was not from the community, it's strictly from the Commission of Management regarding the 3 options. And we actually went for the most expensive one because we sort of liked it best. If I remember correctly, 3 was, but it wasn't a community buy-in. And I totally agree with what George is saying, that we need a community buy-in and quite likely need to simplify it in order to have something that is acceptable and feasible. So I guess we're looking for the process. So,
The process would be, if I may, is to get a hold of Manager Sherco, have them come back with the 3 options that were available, bring it to the Commission of Management to take a look at, see what the Commission of Management recommendation would be, what option we would choose, and then you can take it back to the community.
so for that, we would need to know how much the dismantling has taken off the total. So we need that.
Again, through the chair, George, I can tell you right now, having been at that meeting and then hearing the personalities in our community, that if we simply present them with 3 options, they're going to feel railroaded. They're going to say, what about option 4, 5, and 6 that we haven't even heard about yet? And Peter, to your point about being simplified. So I don't know, Walter, are we somehow constrained by those 3 options, or?
Not at all.
That makes me very happy.
Not at all.
So much better. You will have to pay Clever Architecture or some other consultant to come in there and provide those options, and each one of those will cost money. They don't do work for free.
Absolutely.
So, you know, if you want 5 or 6 or 10 options, you'll have to pay for them. So that will lead up to $150,000 that you have. That's quite fast.
Yeah, just fine. In the words thinking, like we, through the chair, we would have to, spend a lot of money if we were going to go to, there must be designs for these kinds of buildings that we're talking about that are off the shelf. There's the thing in the Crescent Valley Beach there, that gazebo there, it's perfect if it was just a little bigger and a little higher, not much. But that would be, and there must be on a bunch of drafts of that kind of structure available through the architect. I can't believe that.
And there would be, there's a way to get it volunteered, like that, where like, I feel like I know quite a few different ones that could volunteer it, like how come? So that was or it can be something like concrete that we can present and move forward with it. I don't know, pictures. Oh,
On the cover architect.
so what does that mean? What is this, what does your contract look like? Do we get more?
Um,
I think there
Sorry,
was
was-
clarification being asked for regarding the contract through Cover Architect. I think there's a reference made that it was about halfway through the process. So if I'm correct in the understanding, that was actually funded through grants. I don't think it came out of the commission budget at all. So we're just needing clarification about where it stands with Cover Architect and simplifying those plans, I guess.
Could I could chime in. I can probably give a bit of context except for the funding source, but I mean, I'm also part of the commission and we are donating an awful lot of our time. I mean, I think that our portion of the contract was pretty small for what we've done over the last 3 or 4 years. So I mean, we're content to revise and update the design so that it fits the concept and the vision. And I mean, it's right across the street, so you know, it's something that we're pretty passionate about, and my kids will play there when it's done. And so, I mean, I'll follow, you know, however the sentiment is, but you know, we're here to help and make sure that it's reality. So, just wanted to put that there.
That's fantastic. That's very good. Thank you. That's what. Plans are beautiful. No, they are gorgeous, but I think, yeah.
We think that I make it so good if we ain't got the stuff. So we would, well, I'm not going to say it's bad, just want to do a gazebo style thing, I believe, with a roof that's on post, no wall, you see through, the wind blows through, and a decent foundation for those things, which they don't like that big. And somebody mentioned the toilet. If we do that toilet, then we're going, if we're going to be flush toilet, we've got to deal with the septic and the toilet and the ones that we don't, I don't we want flush toilets, we want to go toilet that we can take a barrel away once in a year or whatever. Like anyway, they cut the flush toilets with all having the water on, winter time, heating the toilet room, etc. I don't think we're into that because that's an ongoing expense.
So, again, through the chair, George Mitz, I was at Tag and Beach the other day. If it's good enough for Tag and Beach, a pit toilet for our little community, a pit toilet would be fine. You know, and then again, this gets into what the architects can look at and so on, and our community input. But I think that the idea again is a process where we can get a simple design and move forward. And
So, to my mind, we have several questions to Joe. This is the chair, Kathy Loxham again. We need clarification. I don't know if the working committee has that clarification of what funds are available. And there was a graphic about that at the last meeting, but I don't know if it was part of the handout or not. And it isn't in the minutes, but so we need that. I would think you need that. And then we need a process for looking at the plans as they are now and simplifying them, and also finding out how much the Well, I guess we don't really, it doesn't matter. I was gonna say how much the dismantling takes off of the $1 million, but if we're simplifying them, that really isn't an issue. We're starting from scratch. Any comments?
I think it summarized it quite well.
Okay. Any comments from the regional district staff?
Sorry, I was just on mute there. This is Rob Stacy once again. I'm not from the regional district. Yeah,
No.
just a comment too that we're not entirely starting from scratch because we've had structural evaluations of the existing foundations and a conceptual plan on how to work with them. So there's still value even if it's a totally different structure. But I just wanted to put that in as a bit of clarification.
Okay, good. No, that's well done. I was just thinking of the process, but no, we do have that information and we just need to simplify, it sounds like. So that's great. And certainly the work you've done is appreciated and we understand that it was a lot of community donation and community spirit that drove it. So thank you for that.
Oh yeah, it's all good. Don't worry about me. I'm here for the long haul. So
good.
Through the chair, I have a question for Rob Stacy. If so when we wanted to start the main leg of our fundraising, we have the grant. That's the side gig. We're working with the regional district with that, but we do have plans for actual community-based fundraising, and we would love something conceptual at least that we can just take to the people that we're fundraising. So we're wondering about a timeline. I know that there's a lot of ifs and stuff like that, but we were wondering about a timeline for that. If we can incorporate that in the next 6 months, maybe have something a little bit more definitive, not in stone, but definitive, so that we can start our fundraising like.
oh yeah, absolutely. I guess as long as people don't get too attached to it. And I think that's an important part because clearly there's a lot more consultation that needs to happen, but there'll be nice pictures that can be used for that purpose for sure.
Oh, perfect. That's pretty much all we wanted, something to focus and to get our community to focus on. Mm-hmm.
Question through the chair.
Peter Wood.
To Rob, my question is, you mentioned the foundations of the existing footprint of the building. Are they not suitable to, are they not strong enough to put a relatively simple gazebo on, similar to the Crescent Valley Beach, but a little bigger to fit the footprint, or at least half or a third of the footprint? So my question is, do we need to do too much, if anything, with the foundations before we can start building upwards?
The answer is not much. There's some areas of the existing footprint that have foundations under it and others that don't, that are just a slab of unknown thickness. And so, the real nuance to it is that as long as the structure matches where those foundations walls are, then it should be reasonable with some augmentation, but not a lot. And we've got a detail, but I'm not very good at describing it. I'm not a structural engineer, but that's basically the answer. As long as the structure falls on the existing foundation walls, then it wouldn't require much or any upgrades.
Smashing, thank you.
So, Rob, through the chair, it almost makes sense to me to find out the dimensions of that supported footprint and design the building around that. Does that not make sense to you as an architect?
Makes tons of sense, and that's the basis for those three options. So they all use the same foundations that were existing as part of it. So.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. Yeah, didn't know that.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Chupka.
Yeah. Through the chair. Yeah, I had a question about, so once we get the amount that is available, like who signs off on it? I just find there's an amount and then money's just spent and then all of a sudden it's just kind of drained quickly. So I'm about being thrifty and volunteer, and really I find there's a lot of money there right now that a lot can be done. So I'm wondering like who decides how it's spent? Yes.
I hope it would be the commission, but I don't.
Yeah, I'm just curious with the architect, with the contract, like have we already paid for your services? Or are all these questions and things that we're getting done, is that going to be coming out of the budget? I'm just wondering if there's a way for us to kind of track.
Sorry, I didn't realize it was directed to me. I guess the answer is two-part. For the construction, oh, sorry, there's a motorcycle. For the construction, typically what we would try and do is tender a design, potentially with some alternate prices. So that would be a separate price, so that we can work with the budget after the tender. So not all portions of it would be awarded. And so that helps us buffer the potential for cost overruns. We can literally take out scope that we can't afford. Now, in terms of the design, I'm not sure what part of the budget it comes from, whether it's a grant that's separate or from the money that's in the bank account there. But I think that's something that the regional district can probably answer better than I could.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of questions here for Joe, actually.
That is correct. Joe does the budget on it. So my understanding is we received the grant for the demolition part, and there was some funds left over from the grant. The Commission of Management had some of their own funds that were there. And then I believe I made an offer of a grant of around $125,000. I can't remember. I'd have to go back on my notes.
Right. Mhm.
And that's the Community Works Funds. Now, whether that would be eligible for the construction of a new building or something, what's your suggestion? I don't know. That would be defined by Manager Shirko. So we'll get the figures from Joe. Well, what's left over from, again, the demolition, whether it can be used for construction of a new building or not. There are some conditions attached to all grants that are there. Community Works grants, that which I basically have, it's on my recommendation, but they are to be used for only certain things, energy retrofits, etc. So whether that can be used for a new building or not, I don't know. The grant that you got for the demolition of the building, can the leftover be used for putting up a new structure or planning or whatever is required? That we don't know. The Commission of Management money, we know that can be used for whatever the commission decides to use it for. Is that clarified? And Joe will tell me if I'm right or wrong. I don't do budgets, he does.
Which, speaking again, I'm curious about the grant that we got for the demolition, because I understood the conditions of the grant for the demolition included the rebuild as well. So I understood there was some kind of constraint. They couldn't get a grant directly to demolish the place. We had to do something else, and that was the plan on building something else. That's what I understood.
So we are guessing at it, Peter, and our understanding, yours and mine, could be completely different than what Joe will tell us. So that the correct, please have Joe tell us. That'll stop us from guessing.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we're going in circles.
Yeah, I think we are too. I think we've got a lot of questions for Joe.
Can I add one more question? It's George Mintz, through the chair. There has been a lot of interest in cleaning up the site. I believe RDCK said they would haul away the old shed, which is really a hazard with that sharp metal. My question is, if some of us got together and cleared out this front area of all the weedy white poplar and stacked that, would RDCK haul it away? Would they all, with the shed, and would they also haul away some of the or the deteriorating tires that are there that are an environmental hazard now? Would they be willing to haul it away if we consolidate it into a pile?
Can the regional district staff answer that, or does that need to go to Joe?
Through the chair, it's Carrie here. I would have to talk to Joe, but I think in general, if we're looking to clean up, then what you would want to do, because I don't think the regional district, we certainly don't have the staff or the equipment to be able to haul. We don't, even have a trailer. So normally that would probably have to be done coordinating through our contract or our contractor to sort of get that and specifically take it to the landfill. But it would cost at the landfill. We don't within the regional district ourselves even get a discount we have to pay for use of the landfill as well.
The chair, again, Terry, after the public meeting in April where we had the picnic at the schoolhouse, a few of us volunteered to get together the following weekend, and two of us did, Mandy and myself. We cleared brush off the upper part of the front quotes lawn of the schoolhouse. So it's about 1/3, maybe 1/4 done. There's still more to go. Like we've piled the stuff away from fire hazard, and if we get a nice rainy day, it's been there 3 weeks now, I reckon we could burn it. But I wouldn't do it under any other circumstances than a good rain shower going on at the time. Anyway, that's where we're at the moment. There already has been volunteer work put in. Hopefully we can get some more community members out there with their brush saws or whatever, and we'll continue to clear that front lawn so that it looks like it did 20 years ago. And it's bare grass, in other words. But we do remember that under that front lawn and under the path that goes up the front lawn, there is a 4-inch cast iron main that runs right through the property, underneath the playground and underneath the driveway, and then underneath the front field, all the way to the corner. It's there. Yeah, it's quite visible as a depression in the surface of the ground. Anyway, we've worked around it before and we can work around it again. Talking about toilets, just on the side, if we had a pit toilet, that pit toilet would inevitably be above our water main. And down in the field across the road, we required the builder of a communals, a 2-house disposal system, that they relocated our main around the outside edges of their septic disposal field, never mind the septic tank, but the disposal field. That was an expensive job. I was involved in that too. And if we had a blowout, that's another story. Anyway, pit toilets on that site, I think would be a rather risky business and probably not allowed by the Minister of Health. Because of the water system. That's why the water on the ground here, it's not very deep. I'm looking about in the neighbour's place right now. We've got 2-inch, we've got 2 feet maybe of stuff, and then there's clay, and then there's bedrock. It doesn't work very well as a septic field.
Well, that's the precaution for ongoing project.
Yeah.
So if I'm correct in understanding, then the regional district is not able to provide any means of cleaning up except through a contract. So I understood that the regional district was going to take down the little shed there. So that was going to be done through a contract then? And what is the time frame for doing that?
It's now not fully done yet. It's definitely a hazard though. Lots of sharp edges too. And I've started demolishing, unscrewing all the clipping screws and picking it apart bit by bit by bit. That material is available for anybody who wants to recycle it. Well, I'm looking at the volunteer.
So through the chair, it's Kerry here, and I'll talk to Joe because I know that there is an opportunity for our staff to do some work, and I guess I'm maybe not quite understanding the whole scope of the job that you were asking. But so let me talk to Joe, and I'll see, and then maybe myself and Joe, or maybe another Jeff Phillips, who's our operations supervisor, can meet out and see what the scope is that you're asking. Maybe it's smaller than what I'm anticipating that you're talking about. And if that's the case, then we could do it by removing some things with our pickup and and things like that, then that's not, I was thinking it was a much bigger job. But if it's, it's just some little things that we need to take off to the dump or do some work or possibly take down a shed, again, I'd have to talk to Joe and then maybe meet out there on site and see the scope of it.
Okay, sounds good. So, any more questions or comments about the old schoolhouse? Okay.
Yeah, I think we should put it and maybe pick some dates there.
Okay, yeah, okay. So now we move on to number 6, which is the proposed 2024 meeting date. And
Through the chair, Walter, could you give us a little bit of direction on how many meetings we're supposed to have? Whether there's any mandatory meetings we're supposed to have? Whether we can or sit down a little bit? Because last time I think we were all a bit confused whether or not even we should be calling a meeting.
So when I'd have to look at the bylaw.
Right.
It's generally a bylaw, other bylaws, parks and rec bylaws, or whatever, say 4 meetings per year.
Okay.
And then if you don't need a meeting, you can always cancel a meeting.
Okay.
So we've already had 2.
So
And if you need an extra meeting, it can be at the call of the chair.
okay. So technically then we only need 2 more meetings.
I'd have
Right.
to check and confirm with the bylaw, but that's what the other bylaws are, 4 meetings per year. And the Windlaw Park generally cancel their meeting in the beginning of the year. They wait till the water or before the water starts rising, then they have a meeting.
When it's more necessary.
So-
Okay.
so hearing that, is there any suggested date? Like, are you thinking waiting until the fall? Or it seems to me, I mean, there's the working committee certainly has work to do.
Yeah, I was looking to get more of a clear idea of what the seating was there, 5%. So that we could wear grants.
Yeah, there's a fairly significant grant that we want to apply for in September.
So perhaps a meeting in August?
I was thinking early August. That's a month.
August, yeah, meetings are hard because everybody's on vacation. September 30th was our grant deadline.
I was just gonna mention it.
Okay, so looking for a date into August? Well,
Is there any day that doesn't work for anybody?
Basically during the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'm committed without having my calendar here. Tentative, but as a rule, Mondays are free for me.
Wonderful.
Okay, so the 5th is a staff.
Yeah.
So the 12th of August?
Yeah. Works for me.
So August 12th and 7 p.m. and the Crescent Valley Hall with, if it's going to be hybrid, we definitely need to make sure that there's regional district staff here to hybridize it. So, and then another meeting later in the year.
November, beginning of November.
Okay.
Budgeting purposes.
Okay, so then November the 11th is Remembrance Day, so should we go for the 4th? So the 8th, is the 18th a better date then?
I won't be here on the 8th, but it's on my books.
Yeah, and I mean, I have no idea where I'll be either. I mean,
Grandson's birthday, so I know I won't be.
okay,
So let's say November 4th.
November 4th?
And then when do you guys meet for budget time?
Oh, generally start budgeting in November. Some budgets will go into January, but
But
Yeah,
you're,
we're-
we get it done better.
yeah,
Yeah.
the earlier. It should be by the end of January, a firmed up budget, so we can take it to the public.
Okay, so we have 2 dates, August 12th and November 4th, both of them at 7 p.m. at Crescent Valley Hall. With staff support. Any discussion on that?
Casey, agreed that as staff support, we will immediately cancel the meeting. I think that I think it's an assumption. Yeah, it's not very.
Yeah, but I'm sure we'll have staff support.
Okay.
I don't think this will happen again.
Well put.
Okay, so, those meeting times are recorded? Hello?
Yes,
Sorry,
and
I
so
got
the-
Yes, yes.
Okay, so you've got those dates of August 12th and November 4th, both at 7 PM at Crescent Valley Hall?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, are there any questions from the public?
So just before we go.
Oh,
to the
okay.
public, I just want to ensure, I don't know whether it's Gary or you, Trish. By staff support, we mean somebody here to set up a WebEx meeting for us, or if we get convert to Zoom, to set up a Zoom meeting here for us with a screen so we can see who is participating in the meeting.
Through the chair, yeah, Walter, we hear you. We didn't know that, and we're just trying to help Joe out tonight, so our apologies for this evening, but point taken.
Okay, so going forward, that will happen for August the 12th and the 4th.
I have no reason to believe it won't.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, is there any, Gary, did you have any comment? I mean, I hope, is Gary still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, did you have anything? We haven't heard from you. Do you have any comment?
All it was before, I met with Jeff down at the schoolhouse before and did work with the skid steer down there. I told him if they take the shack apart, we'll take all the metal up here because we don't charge for taking metal. Any recycled materials can come up to our business up on the hill. That's what he said. When they get
Very
time
good.
to take it apart, they bring it up.
Very good. Good to know.
We bring our tree or the what's that thing up there?
Not the tires, Gary.
Well, the tires, I took those down for Natalie back when she had the wee ones for the playground. They had to be put in there for the playground. So she get approval for her inspection licenses and all that stuff around all the pea gravel.
Yes.
So it's not a hazard
But the-
down there for tires.
But the question is now, if we want to remove them, will you take them back?
Depends which ones. Because it costs us money to get rid of them too then, if they got too much stuff in them. The bigger ones we would take, but anything that's, any dirty tire, they will not take back through the recycling program.
Okay,
That's why we used to take tires for free up here. Now we don't because we get stuck with a pile of them that we can't get rid of. Because if they're dirty or whatever, they won't take them. Or if they got nails in them or bolts in them, they won't take them.
okay, so you'll take the metal, and should there be any clean tires, you would take them.
It depends which
that
tires you guys
correct?
want to get rid of down there or not. Or what's gonna happen to all the playground swings and that stuff that I built down there back in the 80s.
Okay, well, that's a discussion that the committee can have with you, but it's good to know about the metal.
Yeah, but everything in that playground except for Natalie's new playground, I built it all back in the 80s there. That's how long it's been in service for,
Thanks, Gary.
40 something years.
Wow.
Sorry. Sorry to interrupt. I just wondered what's Gary's last name for the minutes.
Niminikin.
Oh, Nimikin. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so,
Besides Rob and the people interested or wherever you folks from the others, who else besides Gary and Rob, Stacey, are on the Zoom or whatever we call it today?
there's Trish and,
When Rob spoke up, I didn't realize he had been there. And I thought I wonder if there are other people out there in the wilderness that have been listening in and being quiet. I am. How do we know?
Do you have that information on who's all been participating in the meeting?
No, I don't. I don't think, yeah, I guess I should get their names. I don't really have to record it though, unless they're asking a question during public time.
Okay,
Okay, was Gary going to be removing the material from the old schoolhouse?
he is willing to accept the metal and any potentially, possibly some of the clean tires.
So any recycling material, recyclable material from the old schoolhouse property? Is that correct?
The metal. He
Yeah,
said he will
okay.
take the metal for free.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay. Any further discussions here on? Okay, well, I will then adjourn the meeting at 8:34.